my black cocoon. I'll see you soon. Don't rush like butterflies, she never happens like you. Sting the air like a lightning bolt.
CSF family, what is going on? It's great to see everybody. I hope you're healthy, I hope you're safe, I hope your families are doing well. I want to first shout out all of our seniors this year. Congratulations on graduating. I know that the graduation ceremonies were online. Great job. I know that God has great things planned for you guys, and I know that you're going to do great things after graduation. So again, we just want to say congratulations to our seniors. You probably heard some punk rock music in the beginning of this video today. It's near and dear to my heart. One, I'm a punk rock kid. I grew up on Blink-182 and Green Day and Reliant K and you know, all those kind of bands. That band, Swiss Army, is a good friend of mine. Is their frontman and guitarist. His name's Brandon Lehman. The album is Paris Mountain. And you know, one of the cool things about Brandon's band, Swiss Army, is that he legitimately was kind of a Swiss Army knife type of musician when he first started Swiss Army. He started off playing drums, guitar, bass, and singing, and that's how he wrote his first few songs. Brandon's story with his band kind of reminds me of what Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians when it comes to our faith. Paul says that we should become all things to all people when we are dealing with our faith in Christ. And so if you want to read along with me, it'll be on the screen. But if not, if you don't have the screen, maybe if you're just listening to the audio of this, it's 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 19 is where we're going to start off. Paul says this, "Though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. To the Jews I became like a Jew to win the Jews. To those under the law, I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so as to win those under the law. To those not having the law, I became like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law, but am under Christ's law, so as to win those not having the law. To the weak, I became weak to win the weak. I have become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might save some. I do all this for the sake of the gospel, that I may share in its blessings." You know, Paul says something really wild there, and I think a lot of people would take that as a faith that's fake. Paul says he becomes all things to all people. And on the surface, that sounds like what? You change as days go by and whenever it's convenient. That's not what Paul's saying. See, what Paul's saying here is that as Christians, we need to be able to interact with different people. You can't just stay in your bubble. You can't just stay in your comfort zone. You have to be able to break out of your comfort zone, break out of that bubble that maybe you grew up in, and you have to interact with new people and new cultures. You have to be able to understand them and interact with people who come from them. I think what's awesome about that is that on the college campus, that's what it's really all about. On the college campus, that's where all of the ideologies come, and they're all set up, and they all kind of are just like in one big melting pot. As college students, I think it's important to understand that it's okay to hang out with people that aren't like you. It's actually a good thing when you hang out with people that have nothing in common with you. That's how you learn, that's how you grow, that's how you develop. And Paul is saying that if you can become someone that is comfortable in all of these different situations and you hold on to your faith in Christ, that is how you win people. That is how you win people to Jesus. That is how you let people know that you are like Jesus. When I was growing up, I grew up in Hazelwood, a neighborhood called Hazelwood in the Pittsburgh area. It was a rough town, you know, and our church, Hazelwood Christian Church, growing up, nobody wanted to come down to our church. We always had to go out to other churches. And so we kind of used to have this joke about the Christian bubble, that nobody wanted to get outside of the Christian bubble. And I think Paul would really have a problem with the Christian bubble if he were here today. I think Paul would challenge people to get outside of that, to get outside of those Christian circles so that you can meet people who need to hear who Jesus is. Now, I'm not saying church is bad. I'm not saying that having Christian friends is bad. That's not what I'm saying at all, because we all need that group of believers behind us. We talked about that in our last video. But understand that in order to get out and be disciples and make disciples, we have to be able to break out of our comfort zones. In another passage, Paul goes to the city of Athens. And the city of Athens was where all of the great thinkers, all of the great philosophers, all of the minds of that day would go and meet, and they would just debate in the city circles. They would debate in the streets. And so Paul goes there one day, and he sees in Athens, he sees that there's this one shrine, this one idol to an unknown God. And Paul starts talking to the people in Athens. He kind of takes over the scene. He kind of takes over the crowd, and he's got everyone listening to him. And Paul says to them, what you proclaim as unknown, I'm here to tell you about today. And he starts to tell them about Jesus. And see, if Paul wasn't able to fit in with different crowds, Paul wouldn't have been able to go to Athens and sit down and talk to these people, an entire crowd of people, about who Jesus is and what Jesus meant to him. We have got to understand that we are Jesus to the people around us. When we come in contact with someone, are they coming in contact with someone that is Christ-like, or are they coming in contact with somebody who's just another cheap copy? And so that's my challenge this week. How do we become all things to all people? How do we turn our faith into a Swiss Army knife? Because when we start to develop those skills, when we start to understand that it's not about us, it's about the people around us, that's when Jesus starts working through us. That's when Christ starts watering and growing the seeds that we plant. But the first things first is we've got to learn how to break out of our comfort zones and bring Christ to the people who need him the most. I want to thank you again for listening. I know this was a short one today. I want to try to keep these short. Check us out on Facebook at CSF Pittsburgh. Check us out on Twitter. CSFPGH will be the Twitter handle. Check us out on YouTube. Again, CSF Pittsburgh on YouTube. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My information is on all of those sites. You can find my phone number there. You can find my email there. Hit me up on Facebook if you want to talk, if you want to chat. I know right now it's kind of hard to get together with the social distancing and the stay-at-home orders that we have, but we can always Skype, we can always Zoom. I really appreciate you spending time listening today. God bless, take care. And again, seniors, we're proud of you. Congratulations. We'll see you next week.
I'll give you all I got, 'cause it's all